All right, and welcome back to Photo Tips. And today I want to show you one of the images that I was taking last week along Rottenwood Creek. In fact, if you want to see more of those images, click the card there on the top so you can watch those. But I want to dive into how this particular image was edited. I think it's kind of a unique image. It's a little complicated, but I think it's a unique image. So let me go ahead and show this image up on screen. And this is about the way the camera took it, except I'm going to take this exposure back the way it was. It actually exposed it like that. And that's actually, that looks blown out and whatnot, but it's actually a decent compromise between the highlights here and the shadows. It's a very contrasty scene, and I want to bring out as much detail as possible. And tell me what you think here at the end. And you can follow along at home if you've got the software here. We're using Adobe Camera Raw, which has the same editing interface as Adobe Lightroom. We may throw a little Photoshop as well. But what I'm going to go ahead and do, let's go back to the editing suite here. And I'm going to go ahead and bring down my exposure just a little bit, which will get us the correct exposure here for the trees. And but also we're not going to get very much here in the shadows. So we're exposing from one and not the other. You can see we still have a decent amount of detail there in the highlights. It's not too, you might have a slight blowout there, but nothing too ridiculous. Most even more modern cameras would be able to do better than this one. This particular camera is 12 years old, so we've got a little bit of limitation, but not too much. I think you'll see it works well. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then let's go ahead and try the most obvious thing. We want to bring up those shadows. We want to see what's down there. So we're going to go over to our tabs here, and we'll go ahead and say, well, let's see what we can do. Let's bring up shadows. And as you can see, I'm going to keep bringing up, bringing up, bringing up. We're probably not going to quite get there, but let's keep that as a starting point. Normally, I don't bring the shadows up to 100 there, but this is such a contrasty scene, and it's not doing completely what we need it to, but we'll go ahead and use that. Just set it at 100. I think we'll start there with that. And then, you know what, just a couple little house cleaning items. I think I'm going to go ahead and make the image a little bit warmer by making, sliding my little white balance slider over to the right there. Start with something like that, and I think I may start playing around with some color as well. So I'm going to go for my main tab, over to my HSL adjustments, that's hue, saturation, luminance, and I kind of want to make this a little bit more saturated. Now we could, if I go back to, for example, this tab here, I can go here and set vibrance. But I'm not quite sure that's the look I'm going for. It looks kind of okay, but I'm not quite sure that's what I want to do. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to HSL, and I'm going to start editing things individually. In fact, one thing I'm going to start with are the greens right here. I would like to bring those out, but not necessarily only with saturation. I also want to make it brighter, which I can do with the luminance tab. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Bring it up just a little bit there, and then I'll go over to saturation, and we'll go ahead and increase the greens there. And you can see as we do it, you can start to see the effect. It is subtle, but it definitely does make a difference. So I'm going to go ahead and bring it up quite a bit. And one other thing too, and because this was shot at sunset or close to it, you're getting a lot of warm light. And the greens, that means you're introducing a lot of yellow, orange into the green, but I want to make it more green, if you know what I mean. So I'm going to go over to hue, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. If you look down here at the greens, you'll see this slider. On the far right, you're almost going over to aqua towards the blues, and then over to the left, it's more towards the yellow. So this is what, if I were to do that, we're making it more warm, kind of like, what that warm light does. But I want to slide it in the opposite direction. Not too far, because you can really go crazy with hue here, but just enough to make a little bit of a difference there. Okay, so I think I like that. And then I'm going to start playing around with those oranges and things like that. I don't want to go too crazy, and if I start playing with yellow, it's really going to start, messing up everything. So I don't know if I'm going to even edit the yellow. I may put that back to 0. Try to see if there's any red. There's a little bit of red there in the leaves because this is winter and you get a little bit of red in there. And then you know what? I think I may go ahead. I've got a little bit of blue in the background there, and I think I may go ahead and bring up the blue as well. Okay, so let's see what we've got. We're starting to get some improvement in here, but still down here, we're going to need some help. So what I'm going to go ahead and do, I'm going to grab an adjustment brush, which will allow me to individually edit certain areas. I'm going to say, let's bring it about half a stop. I think I'm going to want some more clarity, which increase the contrasts of the edges specifically. And I might go ahead and just add a little bit more contrast, which kind of will do the whole area, not just those edges. So I'm going to go ahead, got a decent feather there. That's that dotted line, which allows the filter to fade off as opposed to just being a hard stop. It's a little bit unnatural, but I'm going to go ahead and paint in here like so. And you can see as we do, we're making quite a bit of a difference here as we do this. So let's see what we can pull together. Okay, I'm just going to start editing here, so just bear with me while I see what kind of stuff we can get here. Okay, I'm starting to like where we're going there. In fact, let's go ahead and zoom into 100% here. I just want to make sure that noise-wise, yeah, we're not having too many issues. A couple little house cleaning things I may do. I'm going to go over to my lens corrections and enable remove chromatic aberrations. That's if there's any color fringing, especially in high contrast areas. That way we can have that removed. And I don't see too many problems, just in case. And I think it's already pre-sharpened for us. I don't see too much noise down here, so we're going to leave that alone, at least for now. Okay. So basically what we have here is an extremely flat image. We basically have brought out all the detail in the shadows, all the detail in the highlights is there. So it's too busy. So I have a good starting point, but I need to now tone it down a little bit because I like kind of seeing everything, but it's just a bit too much. So let's start taking out just a little bit so we don't go crazy. So I'm going to go back to my image, and I'm going to click this FX tab, and among other things, I can add grain, and for some reason they've added this post-crop vignette down here. What that does is we'll start to darken the corners of the image. I've used it before, and it's pretty effective. So I'm going to start going in here. As you can see, immediately when we do it, we are focusing in on that center part, and it's adding a lot more dimension to this image. That's a huge difference. I hope you can see that there on your screen as we do that. Now, let me go down here and show you some other things as well. Roundness affects how harsh the filter is because it is a circular thing there. I'm going to leave that. The feather makes it also a little bit softer, a little bit harsher. But midpoint, what it'll do, and I'll go ahead and start sliding this up and down. Basically, it shortens the length of the vignette from something like this, and I can make it here or make it bigger. That's what that does. So I'm going to push that midpoint out a little bit because down here what's happening is, remember how we brightened this? When I do the post-crop vignette, it's going to eat into this and get rid of some of that detail. So in fact, I may have to go back in there and do some corrections, but let me just play with this here. Okay, and then I'm going to go back to that adjustment brush like I said. I think I may increase the exposure just a little bit there. We may have to make the effects a little bit more strong here. In fact, I'm just trying to think if I can put some saturation in there. I'm going to be careful with it just to make it pop just a little bit more. There we go. Okay, so I think I've done pretty well there. The only other thing I'm thinking of is up here. I don't like completely how it's gotten dark up there. So I'm going to do a gradient filter here, which is a gradual filter that is strong on one end and weak on the other. And let's go ahead and say, I don't know, 1/4 of a stop. I'm going to go in here and just paint ever so slightly, or not paint, just add the filter. You can see up there in the green, that's where it's in its strongest effect, and it will fade out towards the red. And we can actually adjust that and say make the filter full effect up until here, but I'm just going to leave it back where it was, I think. Okay. Let's see. So I really am starting to like this. I might just do a couple more adjustments here to make it real nice. I'm just trying to think if I want to add any more. I'm just going to start playing with my white balance there just a tad to see what I can do. And, I'm trying to think about those blues as well. I'm going to go back to HSL, and I'm going to go ahead and make those blues a little bit darker, which won't do too much there. And then I'm going to increase the saturation a little bit more, kind of make it a little bit more of a dramatic image. So what do you think there? Okay, so I think we're pretty good there. I'm going to go ahead and bring it into Photoshop. I'm going to put a white border around it so we can really see what's been done, because we want to do some isolation. These borders around your image when you edit actually do make a big difference to the way you perceive things. So let's go ahead and open it in Adobe Photoshop. And I will go ahead and go up to image and canvas size. I know some of this is cut off on your screen due to the widescreen, but I promise you it is there. You go ahead and add a 2-inch border around the image, and let's go ahead and take a look here. I'm going to go ahead and zoom out a little bit more for your screen there purposes. Okay, so let's take a look at what we've done. So when we started, if you remember, it was either all, you had two choices basically. It was, okay, so we can make this the right exposure and we can lose this, or we can make this the right exposure and blow this area out. What we did is we took advantage of the modern RAW files in your digital camera. Sometimes even your cell phone can do this now, although not to this extent probably. We've almost flattened the image, increased the saturation there. We've changed the way the oranges, the blues, and the greens look. And we brought out some shadow detail in there as well. And hopefully that's enough. You know, if I have more time, I might even go or fool around here a little bit more, but I think I'm pleased with that for now. But then what we found was when we brought all those details out, it was just this very flat, too busy looking image. So we went in there and we started darkening the corners to make it a little bit more effective and really focus our eye in there to the middle. And I think it's worked out really well. Although we did, modify things a little bit. We did go up here and brighten slightly with that gradient filter, and then we obviously went down here and changed some things. So let's go ahead and save that out. And let me bring my little toolbar back, and I think I will go ahead and save a JPEG out, and we will compare it to the before. We'll call this after, obviously. Okay, and let's go to Adobe Bridge and let us compare. Okay, so this is our before. It was even actually more blown out than this. It's okay, but it's not really showing what I saw when I took this particular image. So we made those edits that we talked about, and there they are. And I think this is a really interesting image. Some might say, a little too busy, but I really think, especially if you look at it at a decent size, really draws your eye in, makes you wonder kind of what's going on in there and kind of makes your imagination dance a little bit. So that is going to be today's photo tips. It's basically a little bit of everything here, not necessarily a specific topic, but I guess you could say, almost making it like a high dynamic range image, but we did all sorts of things. So I'm not quite sure how to describe it, but I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. Please let me know down in the comments what you thought about the image. Would you do something differently? Is this your style? Is it not? Let me know. Anyway, I do appreciate you watching the video. Please like, please subscribe, please follow depending on what platform you're on. Look down below as well, because you can see some links so you can look at my photos as well. And not necessarily look at videos or do both, whatever you want to do. It's all down there. So do appreciate you watching. You have a good one. Bye-bye.